Greetings, travelers. I'm your host, the C. that knows a lot, Dr. Waluigi. Well, travelers, this is an episode that isn't going to be easy for me. As many of you know from last year's lead up to my 100th episode, I decided to talk about my favorite episodes from a show I grew up watching the most as a kid, Thomas the Tank Engine. It's a series of videos I'm most proud of, and I'm happy so many of you have checked out since then. Which of course meant that I would be discussing the first movie, as it was one I remember seeing in theaters and being obsessed with as a kid. But sadly, we have to acknowledge a big loss to the Thomas community, as on December 25th of last year, Britt Alcroft, the creator of the Thomas series, passed away at 81. For many of us, Britt created a series that captured the hearts and minds of several generations of kids who watched the lessons and stories with the amazing model characters that were transformed from the books that author Reverend W. Awdry had created. Hearing about her loss struck my siblings and myself hard, and is one of the few times I felt like a hole in my chest was opened from hearing about the loss of a celebrity. Though many kids today will probably only know about the Thomas series that's currently airing right now, I can say that for those of us who grew up watching the original series, that Britt's team and dedication are something that won't be forgotten. So in honor of her passing, I will be taking a look at the first Thomas movie ever made. This is my review of Thomas and the Magic Railroad. The idea of the movie had begun as early as the fourth season, with the idea of making a movie that combined the models of the regular series and the sets and live-action portion of the American-made series Shining Time Station, which was a series that was made to bring Thomas to North American audiences, with Britt working with PBS. The plans then led Britt to discussing the creation of the movie with Barry London, the then vice president of Paramount Pictures. However, while she had signed a contract to write the film, things just kept falling apart for Britt as Barry left Paramount and they shelved any further plans for the movie. She later tried to pitch the movie to several production companies until she wound up working with Barry London again after he started his own company called Destination Films. The movie has sadly not been received well by both critics or audiences, as most fans, specifically the Shining Time Station fans, find the film a mixed bag with a lot of the scenes not meshing well together and most of the characters not really adding that much to the story. Financially, the film made its money back, so I can't say that it was a flop, nor will I say that it was a success, but from my own personal experience, I will say that I do remember a lot of the ads on TV. Specifically the trailer, which there were two of, the one in Canada and UK, which was narrated by Eric Idle, and the one in the US, which was done by Jim Cummings. I was 5 when this movie came out, and I still remember going to the theater with my parents, and even going to grab 4 of the die-cast toys made for the movie afterwards. I also remember getting the VHS for my birthday, and a Thomas book that was signed by Reverend W. Awdry's son, Christopher. It was a movie that I watched a lot when I was a kid, and even rewatching the movie again, it still brings back so many happy memories for me that I get choked up when I rewatch it. It's funny how you forget so much from your childhood, but the emotions you get from things you grow up with is something that I think you will appreciate for many years to come. The movie centers on Thomas and his friends getting ready for the summer season and are having to deal with Sir Topham Hatt leaving on his vacation and Mr. Conductor, played by Alec Baldwin, taking charge of the island, while also dealing with the return of a Diesel character named Diesel 10, who is looking for a lost engine that is being protected by a man named Burnett Stone, played by Peter Fonda, as she is the one who runs the magic railroad that connects the island of Sodor to our world. Can our heroes keep the engine safe from the metallic claw of Diesel 10, or will he find and destroy her, causing the magic of the island of Sodor to die out and fade away? I'll start off this section by talking about the interesting choices the creators made for the voices of our trains. Obviously, in the show, they hired one person to do the voices for all the characters, and while Alec Baldwin still plays the same character that George Carlin and Ringo Starr did, Mr. Conductor, they obviously couldn't have just one voice for all the characters. So when it came to the voice actors, the ones they chose made me happy as I discovered that many of them were Canadian-based VAs. Thomas was voiced by Eddie Glenn, who has done work on shows like Flying Rhino Junior High, Beyblade, and the Power Stone anime. However, I learned at one point Ewan McGregor and even Bob Hoskins were considered for the voice of Thomas, which is pretty interesting all things considered. Percy and James were voiced by Linda Ballantyne and Susan Roman, who were the original Deke dub VAs for Sailor Moon and Sailor Jupiter, which is a big surprise for me. And a few other characters I want to point out for the trains are Diesel 10, voiced by Neil Crone, who does an amazing job as this comedic and quite threatening diesel engine that wants to rid the island of the steam team and the magic that the next engine I'm going to be talking about brings to the island, that being the Engine Lady, voiced by Britt Alcroft herself. I find that this character is a bit of a mixed bag for me. On the one hand, I love the performance that Britt gives her as this innocent and mystical engine that is cool, but it does feel like she got rewritten so many times that when we get to her, it feels like she just came and went. Not to say that she's a bad character, just that she feels underdeveloped. As far as the human cast is concerned, I will say that the newer characters we got with Burnett Stone, played by Peter Fonda, and his granddaughter Lily, played by Mara Wilson, are good, as I really like their relationship, and I especially love the growth of Burnett as someone who's given up on magic and constantly blames himself for the events that led to Lady being hidden in our world. I do think that Mara's performance in this is a little monotone for my taste, but I like how she's part of the reason that Burnett opens up more. As far as the other actors go, they do their job well enough, but because I never grew up with Shining Time Station, I can't say that they add too much to the movie other than it's cool to see some of the characters return. Even Alec Baldwin, who was still really good in this movie, I only connect him to the main show since the 5th season was out at the same time. Other than those minor nitpicks, I do love the characters in this movie despite the writing not being as strong as it could have been. The one thing I do think this movie will always be known for is just how great the special effects and the sets look. I know some people don't like that the trains' mouths never move, which some people have said that they find the models creepy, but I still like these designs as they are still reminiscent of the show and they were able to give them a, pardon the pun, facelift for this movie. I'd say one of the cooler designs in this movie is the Magic Railroad itself, with it starting out as a closed-off thorn bush-like setting, but when Lady and the others come through the railroad, it comes to life and becomes a very magical and almost fairy tale-like world, despite the movie not showing a lot of the railroad. The last thing, which I know some of you might find controversial, is that I do love the music from this movie. I know most people find these songs generic, and I will admit that the lyrics to some of the songs aren't great, but I do love the instrumental parts of the songs, as they did feel like you were going on a great adventure, especially listening to the Shining Time song, as it is a really good instrumental piece, but I can see why people hate this song because the lyrics are kinda bland. While I do like this movie for its technical achievements, I will agree that the movie's writing is all over the place. This movie had gone through several rewrites, replaced many actors, and even cut out another human character who was supposed to be the villain for Burnett Stone named P.T. Boomer, played by Doug Lennox, that was trying to help destroy the Magic Railroad with Diesel 10, though it's not known why. Most of these cuts were made due to the result of test audiences finding these characters to be too scary for kids, and this decision unfortunately did hurt the film, as most of the original story of the film was now changed from Lily telling her kids the story about her adventures on the island of Sodor. This current version, I would say, feels like a weak episode of the show, as opposed to a grand movie. However, I did discover recently that someone re-edited the movie the way it was supposed to be originally written, which I will leave a link in the description, and the modern Blu-ray of this movie does have most of the deleted scenes in it, though I'm not sure if that release has the option to watch the movie as it was originally intended, but that is something I think a lot of fans can look forward to checking out, as from what I've seen, the movie flows a lot better. At the end of the day, this movie isn't as good as I think it could have been. The writing is very sporadic, most of the characters don't serve a purpose in most of the story, and the movie doesn't feel like a grand spectacle compared to the show it was based off of. But the one thing I think makes this movie such a classic for me is the emotion behind it. When I think of this movie, I'm taken back to a very innocent time in my life when all I cared about was watching Thomas with my siblings, playing with the toys, and just being a kid again. Is this the best story or even movie that I can recommend to everyone? No. But for us older Thomas fans, I think this is a movie worth returning to relive those childhood memories. I give Thomas and the Magic Railroad a 7 out of 10. It's a fun kids movie that I think most people will enjoy, but maybe show your kids the original model series first. Thanks for watching, I'm Dr. Waluigi, and from all of us fans to the loved ones of Britt Alcroft, thank you for giving us an amazing series, movie, and messages that have lasted through the ages. You will be missed, and I know are loved by millions of children worldwide. Rest in peace, and as always, don't judge a book by its cover, 'cause you'll never know what's inside. Good night, everyone.